Hello and welcome once again to Python with Benquecho. Today we'll be looking at control flows and we'll be actually looking at the if, elif, and then the else statement for Python. Now these three, that is if, elif, and else statements are control flows or conditional statement. What do they actually do? They allow us to be able to execute different instructions based on certain conditions. So a very similar example, let's say I am filling a cup. If the cup is empty, go ahead and then keep filling the cup. If it is full, then do something else. So these if and else conditions allows us to take certain decisions, different decisions based on the condition that we encounter. So this is the basic syntax for the if statement. So we start our if statement, then the condition that must be met for this section to be executed. So if this condition is true, then we end up executing this statement beneath it. Let's take note that the indentation and spacing count a lot. So after you've declared your if condition, your if statement, and have stated your condition, you terminate it with a colon. Now, when you press enter, whichever ID that you'll be using is going to indent it for you. However, if it does not, you need to just press the tab to have this indentation. So this space really matters. If it is not of the same space, you are likely going to get an error. Now, to extend the possibility of if statement, we can add the else statement, where we would say that, okay, if the condition is not met, so if this condition is not met, what else can we do? So we extend that with the else statement. So if this condition true is not met, then we extend and then we say else, do something else. Then the last one, this is even extending the possibility further, where we can have multiple conditions. So let's say we are looking at grades of students. We would say, okay, if a student happens to get, let's say, 90, then the person is going to maybe have A, or else if the person gets 80, the person will be assigned a grade 8, else the person just passed. So we use the if, elif, and else statement to bind multiple conditions and execute each of them based on the condition that we encounter. Okay, so let's just go ahead and then I'm just going to declare a variable. I'll say number, and I'm just going to say that this number is equal to 100. I'm not going to use the if condition to, I would say if this number that have been declared here, if this number is greater than 0, what do I want? I want the statement. Remember, we have to terminate it. So this is our if statement, and this is the condition that we are giving to it. So while this statement is true, we keep on, whatever code that comes here would keep executing. So I'm saying if number is greater than 0, I should just go ahead and print number is positive. So if I run this, I end up getting number is positive. Why? Because number is greater than 0. So that is a sample of an if statement. Now I'm going to, let's try something else. I'm just going to declare a number. Okay, let's use the same number. And I'm just going to say, if number modulo 2 is equal to 0, then I'm going to print number is even. So what is happening here? We created a variable called number, and we are testing a condition. If it is true, we execute this. So we are saying that if number modulo 2, so when we divide this number by 2, and if the remainder is going to be 0, automatically we know that is an even number. So let's go ahead and run that. We end up getting 100 is even. All right, now let us make the statement false to see what happens. Now I'm going to change the value of number at this point, and I'm going to make it 17. Now 17 divided by 2 is going to give us a whole number, remainder 1. So now let us run this again, and we execute. Sorry, I would have to save this again, and now let us execute now, and nothing happens. So this is the downside of if statement. When you use just the if statement, when the condition is not met, nothing happens. So to be able to extend that possibility and give an alternative condition when the first condition fails, we would then extend this by adding the else statement. So I'll just say else. So if this first condition is not met, what do I want to happen? Remember the else, you terminate it with a colon, then you press enter to come beneath it. Notice how if and else are on the same line. So I'm just going to say if that condition is not met, then I would want you to go ahead and say number is odd. Now let us run this again and see. So you realize that now when we tested 17, because 17 divided by 2 returns a remainder of 1, this statement was false, therefore it was skipped and then came to the else statement. If I go ahead and change this value to 16 and now I run this again, we are going to get the first value. So the else statement gives us an option after the first condition fails. All right, now let us even extend the possibilities of the statements. Let us combine all the three. We are going to look at if else statements. So I'm going to make a new variable and I'm going to call it number 10 number, and I'm going to assign the value 10 to it. And right here, I'm going to test some conditions. So I would say if number is greater than 0, what do I want to do? I would want to see that I would want to print number is a positive. Let's say it's positive. Number is positive. So if I'm testing the multiple conditions, if I'll say else if, that is what it means, else if number is less than 0. We know if a number is less than 0, automatically that number, so print number is negative. Then we test our last condition that says else we are going to say print. If it is not negative and is not positive, then definitely that number is 0. All right, so let's go ahead and then run this, and we end up getting 10 is positive. If I go ahead and change this to 1, it says if 1 is greater than 0, so it means this condition will be true. If I run this, I end up getting 1 as positive. I'm now going to make this a negative value. I'll just say, just a negative 11. And now the question we are asking is, so this is it. If negative 11 is greater than 0, so this is false. So it's going to skip this statement and come to test this one. Else if number that is negative 11 is less than 0, and this satisfies the condition, therefore this block of code is going to execute. So we need to get number is negative. Let us try that. We end up getting it. Negative 11 is negative. If I go ahead and then make this a 0, we say is 0 less than 0, false. Then we move on to the next block of condition. Is 0 greater than 0, which is also false. Then we come to the last one. So that's the last option. So we go ahead. If it is not that and it's not that, then definitely it is 0. So if I run this, it's going to say that 0. Now let us look at a use case for this if, Elif, and then else statement. We are going to look at we're going to write a code to check the grade of a student based on the mark that the student gets. So we're just gonna say if let's say if a student score, let's say if a student score is greater than or equal to, you remember the operators we learned earlier, is greater than or equal to 90, what do we want to do? We want to give that student, let's say grade should be equal to A, and make it capital. And then what is our next condition? Now we are looking at A, B, C, D, and then the last one will be F. So we are going to need multiple. So I'll say Elif, if the score is greater than or equal to 80, what do we want to do? We want to say the student grade is B. Then we go ahead and test another condition. Elif, the score of the student is greater than or equal to 70. We're gonna say the grade of the student is C. Then we test another condition. We say if the score of the student is greater than or equal to 60, then we say the grade of the student is a D. Then the last condition, okay, let us add an E. So let's say if the score of the student is greater than or equal to 50, then that student ends up getting grade E. And then the last statement is else. Don't forget else. That is when all the above conditions are not met, then we go ahead and then give the student F. I think this is very simple. This makes a lot of sense. Now let us go ahead and then, so after all these things has been done, let's just go ahead and then print some statement. So I'm just gonna say print. I'm just gonna say print. I'm going to use the F string. So I'm just gonna say your score is, then I'm just going to pass my score, and then I'll say and your grade is great. Okay, so what is going on here? So we have a variable that is going to store the name of the student. So let's go ahead and then give a score. Let us create a score variable over here. And now we are going to test for, let's say a student ends up getting, let's say 79. Let us run this. It says what? 79. Your score is 79 and your grade is C. You realize that 79 is it greater than or equal to 90? That is false. Is it greater than or equal to that? That is false. Is it greater than or equal to this? So it means that it falls within the sector. So we end up getting C. If we alter this and we make it 100, we run this and we get an A, because this section of the code becomes true. If I go ahead and make the score anything below 49 and I run, I'm going to get F, because 49 falls within the else condition. So basically, this is how we can combine the if, the elif, and then the else statement. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. We'll be meeting in the next lesson. Have a good day and bye-bye.